Welcome to Ausfilm Creatives, a podcast about Australian creatives working behind the camera. My name is Peter Sylvester and I'm your host. Welcome listeners. In this episode we have Damien Beebe, who's a camera operator and also a cinematographer who's worked on such films as Mary Poppins Returns, 13 Hours and Edge of Tomorrow, and he also has done cinematography on several feature films more recently as well, such as AA, The Wrathful Soul, which is still to come out I think, and also Blackwater Abyss, which is in post-production at the moment. Damien was kind enough to invite me over to his place so we could do a one-on-one recording. So enjoy. Welcome to the show, Damien. And we really would love to find out about how you initially got into filmmaking.
So many different ways, actually. It's one can find your way into filmmaking. I presume I got it from the practical side of things. I studied engineering, wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, and then got on. Started working for a staging company, which was quite fun, entertainment, and then got onto editing, and then editing, you learn the sequence, what goes together, and then sitting in a dark room, editing other people's pictures that don't quite make sense and everything gets a bit frustrating. And having a photographic background, I thought, I can do better than this, and started to get onto camera and just kind of found it. That was what my real passion was all about. And I was good at it.
And was there something in your younger days that really attracted you to filmmaking, something that went, I'd love to do that?
Well, it was interesting. I was the eldest of 5 boys. So my other 2 brothers, younger brothers, were into the films. My dad his passion was photography. He was a dentist, but his passion was photography. So I used to love his photographs and everything. So I presume and my mother was a makeup artist, so I presume we kind of got into it from that side of things. It was very creative. And while I was studying, my other 2 brothers were over in Australian Film School, learning their art over there. So I got it in through one way, they got in through another.
Excellent. I mean, probably having the engineering angle, you probably took approaches a little bit differently, maybe even.
Yes, it was. Well, the whole thing was, that's when video started coming out, tube cameras and that kind of stuff. And film was its entity and video was its entity. It was still developing more. I mean, you had much more latitude with film as far as blacks and darks and all that kind of stuff. Video, you still had tube cameras, so you had like the comet effect when you had the thing. And then later on when they came into chip cameras, then you had this kind of, it was like filming through a stocking if it got too dark, and then you just had all these different things. But if you knew the format you're working with, and it's like anything, if you know the format you're working with and you're good at what you do, you can make it look like anything, really.
Yeah. Well, you can, with the thing is with practice, like you can maybe do, shoot with one camera, but if you don't really test it out and really push it through all the limits it has, you kind of don't really ever end up letting it shine.
Well, I think in this day and age, it's learning your camera that you're working with, learning its pros and cons. Some cameras handle low light better than others. Some cameras handle brighter light better than others. So find out what shoot you're doing, find out what parameters the camera works best at, and then pick the best camera for the job. That's what my advice would be. And also budget makes a big difference as well.
Yeah. Having all these.
I want that camera, but no, sorry, you can't. Here's your iPhone. Use that one.
Yeah. Well, and really, you can achieve these days. That's the thing. Like when I was studying, I still was learning on film, and then the first professional video camera was Betacam SP that we were shooting on. And, now your iPhone, the picture quality is 20 million times better, like, equivalent if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So that it's actually very easy to get a good image these days compared to when we were studying. You had to fight for it back in the day. And
Well, you're limited what you could do. I mean, nowadays you have so much media at your disposal and so many ways of achieving what you want to achieve. So you got to depend. Really, it's up to you and how you want to achieve it, and obviously, budget and that, and when you're starting out, it's a lot of favors.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what life's about. There's a lot of favors and knowing who and can I please? Oh yeah, I know somebody who's something. Maybe they can get them on it, and they can do something on it. Absolutely, get them on it.
Yeah.
That's how it works, and it's all about a collaboration. And whether it's a student film or whether it's professional film, in the big budgets, $1 million, everything has the same. The wheels that do the small budget are the same that run the big budgets. So it's all, and it's a people industry. Really, the jobs that you do and that kind of stuff, it's the people you depend on and people who help put that project together. It's never me. It's always a group.
Yeah. That's definitely for sure. And the working as a camera operator, did you focus towards becoming a cinematographer? Like obviously you had your brother who'd already kind of made the way in doing that, but from your perspective, were you really enjoying doing camera op more, or was it that you kind of wanted to do both?
Well, you kind of operating and DP kind of fell together, and so think about operating. I mean, it's framing, but as a DP, you also look at framing and more lighting. And I was lucky because I studied electrical engineering. Lighting was one of my subjects, and temperatures and all that kind of stuff, long before people knew what they were talking about. And so you're trying to explain to them again, Kelvin, everything works Kelvin. What's Kelvin? It's a lighting, it's a temperature in which light works and all that. But it's what I love about being a cinematographer and even operating that is that you get to choose the frame a lot of the time. And then a DP is working with you. I mean, you as a DP, or if I'm getting somebody to work with me, if I'm working with somebody else, I've got an idea on how they like their frames. Work with one director, he likes his frame this way. He doesn't want people centered. He wants people on the side of the frame. Other people want the people straight center in the frame. And knowing what they want gets you the job.
Yeah. I think, that's the key thing. Especially if you're working with somebody else, you have to, with communication, you have to ask those questions. And if you just rock up and go, yeah, but you don't pay attention to really what if you're DP or director, because you might have your own vision on the script, but you realize actually that director is completely different.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, it's not your project. You're working for them, so you got to make them happy. In time, you'll have your own project and you do things your way, but you can add, you can suggest, and you do have a bit of play with things. You can frame it a little bit differently, maybe this way, maybe just to put a little personal kind of thing to it. But you have that, and once they trust you completely, then you have so much more creativeness in the process.
Definitely. Initially, when you started, what got you into the film industry? Was it just doing a heap of shooting for other people, or what really kicked off in the film, specifically, in narrative filmmaking, I guess?
Right, in filmmaking, it's I don't know, you start from working in staging and that kind of stuff. We ended up, working with agencies and stories and all that kind of stuff, and commercials and everything. So you get to learn the process and how that I'm telling a story gets put down. You see people's vision and how they do something, and the longer you're in it and be observant, you learn things from people, and that's observe. Don't always think the answers to everything. Learn how and why people do this particular way. So always found it interesting the way the shot was set up, whatever, because I might do that a bit differently, but okay, I want to see how they do it and why it worked and how it worked. And then you take that and integrate it in your stuff. And it's telling a story. Where else do you get to see the world, travel around and follow people's stories? And it's how you tell people's stories that I find so interesting in the job that we do. And it's, no job in the world could actually offer you some of the opportunities and the things that you get to do and see.
Yeah.
You know.
And, and film can be a powerful medium in different ways, but specifically if you've got like a story that is trying to reach out to people, to maybe like a biopic might talk about things that you don't realize that's going on in the world, and you're able to communicate that through, cinematography, and really try and, not many other jobs give you that satisfaction, I guess.
No, it is. And it's about telling a story and how well you can tell a story or get their story across. A director has his particular vision and how he wants his story told. And as a DP, you have an opportunity to create a canvas in which to tell that story. And that's great. That's fun.
It is amazing. During the production, during your early days, do you have anything you distinctly remember that you just went, wow, I'm living this, and something that really changed your attitude to, that you knew now this is what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I think you got to do the hard yards. You go through stages, and in my first really big feature film, I was like, that I was working with my brother. He said, I've got this film, let's go do this. I go, well, what do you want me to do? He said, we need like video. I know you're really good at video. We need like some, video split. When I was called video split at the time, is like something so the director can see what they're filming. So, of course, that was a interesting field to get into. And I was trying to do wireless back in the day, where it was just, as long as they're in 10 foot of the thing, it'd work, But and it's trying to, the director really needs, and particularly with film, because they just had a sensor inside the viewfinder that picked up the vision and it wasn't very good. But they needed to see it, and the televisions, as soon as out in the sunlight, was no good. So that was a technical side I had to get my head around and work with film and this and that. And of course, at that end, you're at the lower end of the scale in film, and it's a very hierarchy thing. You got to, back in the day, not so much nowadays, but back in the day, you had to work your way into. You had to do the hard yards before you just didn't jump into becoming an operator or DP or something. You actually had to know somebody and start from the bottom and work your way up. And people on the way got to recognize you and slowly let you into the kind of field.
Yeah, have that trust. And
that trust. Nowadays, things are different. Things work at different speed, but there's more competition now than ever before. And everyone's a director, everyone's a DP, everyone's an operator.
Yeah.
And, with multimedia, you can make it look really good and everything like that. But when it comes to the crunch, dealing with people and put in hard positions, you got to learn not to freeze up or freak out, or just breathe and solve the problem.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I've just disappeared on me. Just give me a second. I have no idea where it went. I bet you I pressed like delete on it. Here we go. So talking about your working with your brother, you end up working on quite large projects, like I guess what's the title? Tomorrow,
like Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow. That's it. Sorry.
9 was a big one with all huge cast, like Daniel Day-Lewis, Sophie Loren, Nicole Kidman, Penelope Cruz, and so you get to work with huge kind of celebrities who, But the thing is not to get intimidated by that kind of stuff, and the pressure is on. Like Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise was fun, and Tom's a great guy. He's very respectful of everything. But when he comes on the set, it's work. If the camera's on, ready to go, whatever, he's not going to hang around and waste time. Time is money, and it's a lot of pressure. And Doug Lehman, who was the director at the moment, likes his things in a particular way, and
I've worked with directors that have that, and they do have that extra
very
vision.
Focused.
Yeah, very focused and
know what they want,
100% on it.
And so it's funny because Tom was saying, "Oh no, Doug, did you try this? Whatever." And you go, "Yeah," and just It is what-
Yeah, well, sometimes if you have that strong vision, it's not a bad thing, because I think as a director, there's a lot on your shoulders.
No, there's a lot on your shoulders, but it's, if you focus like that and can cut out all the other bullshit that's trying to steer in one direction, be true to your vision. It's hard.
Yeah.
Because all these other people trying to steer you in a different way.
Yeah, it's tricky, and I can see why some directors want final cut and things like that, because they just know that in the edit it can still get destroyed.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, when you're on these big budgets and the pressure's on, and they doing the the shot that you're about to do is like $1 million worth of pyrotechnics or stuff's going to go off, whatever. You got to make sure you get the shot. You don't want to be the one putting up your hands saying, can we just were we rolling on that one?
It was funny. I was watching the behind the scenes on one of the Matrix films, and that was exactly that moment. It was so amazing. They were shooting on film, and it was meant to be these cars flying on the freeway, crashing this like pneumatic thing that crushes one of the bonnets, and the two cars on the trailer on the moving vehicle. Like he says, the camera's not rolling, and the AD had to call it the last 5 seconds. They put up a sign apparently, and where you can't quit before that. And he literally called it like half a second before they passed that sign to say because the two cameras they're supposed to be rolling at 300 frames or something. It's mechanical film. You don't know sometimes. But
I tell you, the pressure.
That would be just being a first AD. You'd be like, what? Like that's a big call.
No, and people remember the stuff ups. They don't remember the actual.
Yeah.
I remember the time when I got that. No, I remember the time when you did that.
Yeah. And in a case you do have to make those big calls where that's going to cost, like you said, $1 million to do that shot.
Yeah, but that's why they have. Like I remember when we did Edge of Tomorrow. I was, they had this opening scene where the helicopter flies up the Thames, this huge Puma helicopter, flies up the Thames, comes past the Parliament House, and then it crosses and lands in Trafalgar Square, which is like the first time helicopters ever landed in Trafalgar Square. It had 11 cameras on that day.
Wow.
Covering the footage. And I was actually in the helicopter with Tom. So I was deep in that particular sequence. And of course, you're filming inside the chopper, looking out, and the daylight and the exposure is so different. And they didn't allow any. They're trying to have the LEDs, and they weren't strong enough, and everything. So you have all this whole pressure of everything, and trying to get that shot, and it's on film, so you can't play back or no. You're only getting your result 2 days later.
Wow. Yeah.
And you have to, throw your iris here, back here, then everywhere, and it's the opening shot. And
you couldn't even put anything on the windows, like NDs?
No. It's an Army helicopter. They want nothing. They want to know nothing about that.
Yeah.
You have to and it's not because he's flying with the side door open.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember that.
Side door open, so he's looking out, and it's and you get in position, and there's all these rules and regulations where you can go and where you can't go, and Tom and the pilots all pumped. Everyone's pumped, and you're going, oh, just please God, let the shot work. I mean, pressure like that, and then the day before you're trying to make sure everything's set, but there's still the error of something going. And then what ended up, we ended up finishing all the shot, and then we had to do emergency landing because the hydraulics started going, and we landed. The side of the chopper was covered in oil.
Oh, no.
But the pilots were good. They're going, and started filling up with smoke, and they said, oh no, we're just going to come back and land. We just need a bit of technical problem, and so
we'll be right. Well, they're in the same shoes, really, in that sense. I mean, theirs is more vital than you being a camera operator, but same deal, high pressure.
No, high pressure, and landing, and it was it's fun. So moments like that you definitely remember.
Yeah,
I got to land a helicopter in Trafalgar Square.
That's pretty cool. I one thing I learned from a helicopter pilot, very experienced one, that he kind of said to me, you didn't ask me how many hours I've flown. And it's like a big mistake, because I should have, because the shots I wanted to get were like side-on tracking shots, but this guy was a full-on film experienced helicopter pilot, and that's one of the things I experienced as learning still, working with other full-on high-end professionals like that you've actually really got to communicate
Yes, but imagine the answer if you did say, "Oh, by the way, how many flying hours have you got?" Oh, 12. But would your shoot would have gone as smoothly as you expected?
Yeah,
That's it. Then
exactly.
you would have been so aware about everything.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
sometimes ignorance is bliss in some way, and other times,
Yeah, yeah. Well, in this case, though, I needed the guy to be pretty good.
yeah. But no, but then once you've done a lot of these things, you know what good flying is, and you know what. So then you can always direct them in a particular way as well.
Yeah,
You can tell them what works and what doesn't work.
yeah, definitely.
Make sure they bank on the inside and don't bank on the outside and kind of flip out of the chopper, which has happened before. So.
Yeah, I remember I had to do a little corporate shoot, and for some reason they decided, oh, well, one side photographer and then the videography on the other side, and you're like, oh, this is not going to work. Oh, well. What?
No, we need to balance it out.
Yeah.
I don't care about balancing out. Just make sure I get,
Yeah, that's it. It's crazy. And so working on a high-end production like that, what are some of the takeaways that you do when you end up working on a small project? Like, is there something that really helps you to, is it just having that extra high pressure dealing with, or is it more that working on a small project, you can actually be a little bit more relaxed about it?
Well, I think working on a higher end, you tend to, there's a lot more things in place. So they have, they've tried to cover every corner of the things that can go wrong. So you're much more relaxed. You're much more, you have a bigger crew, which you're responsible for. You have longer setup times to do things, longer lighting times, but you have that time and you have that, a lot of pressure to get it done, but you have a lot of help. When you're doing smaller productions, it's just you, a few guys, and you are always chasing your tail. You're trying to get the best shots, So that's why I love working with the big production and the smaller productions, because it keeps you honest. It keeps you, if you work in the big productions all the time, you take a lot for granted, and the guys are complaining about the food, for God's sake. Oh, no, just not. And guys, just, you're so lucky doing what you're doing, and just be happy with what you're doing. And, if you work on the big films all the time, I believe you must got to give back on what you take. Do the odd ones that kind of get you back to the grassroots, and you appreciate the big ones more. And then it's, so it's, as I always believe in giving back, I'll always do some that have no budget if it's a good enough script that I feel like it's because you get much more kind of satisfaction and feedback because you've had more input, and you're helping people around you, and they enjoy and appreciate what you have to offer.
And I saw in your website you've got a little motto about you need to have a sense of humor on set. Like, that's so vital. Like, tell us about why you think that's so important.
No, if you haven't got a sense of humor on set, you're not going to last very long. You can't take everything personally. If you're a very sensitive person, well, maybe become an actor or something like that. But even that might be a bit hard to kind of bad advice. But it's you work with people all the time. You can have different personalities. You do have different temperaments. Some people, can take a joke. Some people can't. So but you got to be able to stand back and at the end of the day, at least laugh at yourself or laugh at the situation that's kind of unfolding, because sometimes it's beyond redemption. Sometimes it's just going down one way, and you just got to kind of stand back and go, well, what do we do? Let's try to salvage it. Let's, once you see the situation for what it is and stand back, and we're not saving lives here. We're making a movie. Don't take it so seriously.
Yeah.
It's just a movie. Then we'll work it out together and we'll make it work. Yeah. But don't break down into a ball and cry and think it's the end of the world, because it's not. And there's always a solution around something, and, have fun with it. This is the industry, you're making a movie. You're telling a story. Have fun with the story. Then people can see what you put into it when they watch it.
Yeah, I definitely think you go to the movies and you watch a movie, you can kind of get a vibe or a sense of what the filmmakers were feeling when they made it. And fair enough, if it's an art house film with a really strong message, cool, it's serious, but you can still see the passion. But on a more fun film, you want to make sure that that comes through the picture.
Yes, but even like a serious film, you can have fun with it. And then the people would want to work with you again because they had fun making that movie. It wasn't a be all and end all. It wasn't like the drama. Oh God, this is gonna, I enjoyed working with them, and they were fun to work with, and it wasn't a big deal, and everyone was good, and you had a drink afterwards, and everyone got on well. There was no bickering and bitching and moaning and that kind of stuff. And it's once you create that environment, and if you work a lot in that environment, you can create it yourself.
Definitely. So, in saying having fun with all those projects, do you find any certain genres that you actually have more fun, or that you can have, during the shoot? Because like I've heard, I mean, my personal experience is limited, so I don't know, but I like on a horror movie, I tend to have more fun because it's like it's make play really. But then on a comedy or those kind of, it's actually more serious, which is weird.
Yeah. Well, I think most comics are manic depressant anyway. So half the time you got that to deal with. But,
yeah.
Yes, comedy and that. It's so once people they pick up a particular vibe when you're on set, and if it's a nice fun vibe and it's a comedy and it's a lot to do with the actors and the people putting it together, you can have a lot of fun with that. When things aren't going well, it's tough. Like I've worked a lot on musicals, and that's a whole different genre in itself. It's a lot of everything's fixed and timings and that kind of stuff, and it's and then there's horror is always great because you have so much more leeway to experiment and have fun, and if you were a kid that used to love giving frights to people, and everyone loves to give frights to people. I mean, I had 5 brothers used to scare the shit out of, so that was fun. So if I do a horror, I have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, definitely.
I like to kind of find ways to kind of bring the tension in and then scare the people, and also have fun with the camera. Try different things because you can. And the thing is, there's no, you don't have to worry about big stars, because if you have a big star, he's going to survive. If you have somebody you're not quite sure who they are, you can kill them off at any stage, and no one really knows when they're going to die. So
yeah, that is an interesting point. You got to balance that when you get a horror movie made. Don't get too much of a big star for it, otherwise.
Exactly. But it's and it's most films are like a gamble. You're trying to go in there, and you obviously think your script's the best, this and that. When you get there and suddenly find it doesn't hit the audience that you want, but then you can have there's a lot more successes, I think, on horror movies that have been made that have hit it and made their money, hit and miss, than it is with trying to get a comedy, because comedy is so hard. You've got to get that timing, and different countries have different comedy cues. Different French are very different, and Koreans are very different, and Americans are very different. Americans you've got to explain the joke to, and English is more innuendos and that kind of stuff. So it's that whole, it's nothing worse than, you're trying to be sarcastic and somebody says, well, that wasn't very nice. And you say, oh, no, I was joking. And they go, oh, that's funny. Oh, yes. Funny.
I get it.
You're a funny guy. There's Mrs. Mark completely.
Yeah, you can't do that on a movie, that's for sure.
No, and particularly now, and I feel a bit sorry for a lot of the new students coming up into the industry now, because whereas before, as I say, don't take everything so personally. Now a lot of things on political correctness is taken so personally, and somebody can take what you say out of context and use it, and you can get in trouble.
Yeah.
And that's saying, but I was joking. It's not, and it depends on who you work with. Like you're working in London, everyone's kind of what, and you sit down, and you get to have to do these kind of human resources things, what you can and cannot do, whatever, and everyone's going, seriously? Are you serious? What? What? Yeah, and so but go over to America and you work like that, and you've got to change your, how you present yourself on set.
Yeah.
And because some people's humor aren't as good as that one. Some may take it as a joke, some may not take it as a joke. So
yeah.
But the sad thing is, some people are too serious about what they're doing, and we're there to make films and have fun and enjoy, and just
and
then you'll enjoy it. If it's too serious and everything like that, people have to lighten up a bit.
Yeah, I mean, my go-to with films, especially the stories that I love. Like as an example, I'd say my favorite film, I'm not saying it's the best film ever, but is Aliens, because that encapsulates everything. It's not a film that it's serious as in horror, but there's comedy in it, there's action, there's a bit of romance. It's got all these elements that gel together really well. And I think in storytelling you kind of need that as well in modern films, because when you start, like you said, films that take themselves too seriously, they'll probably get laughed at, because if they don't do a good job at that.
Yeah, it's a fine line.
I think having a good mixture of life in a story is important.
And like one of my all-time favorites, Blade Runner. There was just the cinematography, the music, where everything kind of gelled together. They kind of looked to the future, and then that was, that encapsulated a lot of stuff that for me at the time hit the mark. And so you work your way around, and life's what you make of it, and how you approach things.
Definitely. Well, even Blade Runner has got a lot of moments in there that's not all doom and gloom serious. There's a lot of fun moments in there, and then there's
it tells a story
lot of mystery.
Oh yeah, it tells a story, and you create great shots and pictures and that kind of stuff. And sometimes just a shot without any dialogue can tell a story.
Yeah. So yeah, it's now it's become a classic, very highly appreciated film, but at the time, it's almost like I think it was in the Blade Runner documentary, Ridley Scott said that being ahead of your time or behind your time is sometimes not a good thing.
No, well, it isn't.
For the success of the film.
Yeah.
But in the long term, it paid off.
I know, but people have very short memories.
Yeah, that's right. And talking about horror movies, you've actually DP'd a couple more recently.
Yes,
Did you want to talk about it, either of them? Which both
like that. AI was an interesting kind of horror movie. I mean, the script was pretty. It's funny what you can pick up from reading a script. And from a horror point of view, I could see a lot of potential on which was happening. The script wasn't overly fantastic, but I knew by telling the story, you could have a lot of fun stuff with it and scares and that kind of stuff. It's more the visual that kind of pushes it more, and so you have fun with that. So that was a interesting project, and also it was a first-time director, and really kind of worked on a lot of big things. This is a big kind of movie, so working with him was great because I had a lot of leeway to do stuff, and sat in and watched the actors, and after working with good actors and bad actors, you kind of try to tell a story in a particular way without showing any bad acting, even though you can't afford this actor. But in a horror genre as well, the good thing is you don't need to have a really big name, because as I say, you can actually kill them off and people don't know who's who or what's what, and you keep that tension in it. And just got to be believable. And also you can cut around things, you can make things work, and particularly, and when you got no budget, you got to think of, it's like filming 101. You got to think how we can get around this, or how do we do this? Oh, can we have you got a Technocrane? No. Have we got this? No. Have we got a dolly? No. Have we got
a cable.
Okay, fine. So it's and you work out ways to do things, what I love nowadays is that there's so much more leeway and stuff. Like you have the Mobies, you have cable cams, you have all this extra stuff at your fingertips that relatively isn't overly expensive, and you can get great stuff and drones and that, so you can just create your shots. And it's like telling a story is like choreograph. If you sit down and know a scene that you want to play out, there's so many different ways of going about it. And knowing your crafts and tools is an advantage, because then you can put the time aside to make sure that certain sequences work, and you have it covered. And you have fun doing it, because it's like experimenting. It's like going into a science class and saying, well, let's try this. This might work, that might that. And timing. It's all about timing. You have the best thing, and then the actor does his timing. No, this time you're supposed to dive to your left, not your right. You're out of frame. But things like that happen. And another one I did recently, another Australian one, was Blackwater Abyss, which was Blackwater was the first one, and then the Abyss was another one. It all takes part in a cave and everything like that. And where does the light come from in a cave?
Yeah,
that's it. Oh God! So as a DP, I was trying to get a shaft coming through the middle of the cave and this and that, and it's like no, doesn't know, wants to keep it all dark and kind of claustrophobic. Okay, shit. So there's my light source gone. Okay, so or do they? So then, of course, then they have head torches. Okay, that could be light show, but dark and light torches in the camera and flares and that kind of stuff, and over bright and this and that. So I mean, you have to come up with ideas and ways of getting around things, and that you sit down and see what's available to you. There's the good thing now. There's so more, and it's in water. So everything's in water, this and that, and reflections everywhere. So
you guys just shot that on a stage, or was it?
Yes,
yeah.
A few locations, but mainly in a sound stage, and so there you got to design that and sit down with the designers and work things out and how they're going to climb up to a certain thing in the water, and the director wants his vision. This is how he wants things approached and everything like that, and you're trying to get the shot and going, well, just jump on the ledge with them and shoot everything, and but it's a huge camera and I'm going to fall off the ledge if I'm up there with them. So you think of alternative ways of getting up there, and okay, so what have we got the budget for? Can we get a crane? No. Okay, can we get this? So it's you have to you wanted the handheld feel. So there's so many different ways of approaching it. So sitting down with the director, find out what he wants, and at the same time getting your vision across as well, because at the end of the day your name's attached to it regardless, and space, and he doesn't want too much light against the wall, but they're flat up against the wall, and somebody's got to things like challenges you have, and everything, and it's always time. You're always chasing time.
Yeah
As a DP, you want to have time to light things, but the more time you get, the more time you light. I don't think you ever have enough time.
No,
you're always trying to. Okay, no, how much time we got? Okay, now we need to go now. Oh, really? Can't I just put one more? Oh, no, okay, no, let's go.
That's when. Well, for me, because of my experience on low budgets, it's neck fill is my friend.
Yeah,
it's always neck filling because I haven't got enough money for more lights.
and that'll always be the case. Whatever film you get, you're going to run into problems and this and that, and just trying to make things work in what you've got.
Definitely.
and get creative, and sometimes you get in there and the idea you had about doing it a particular way, and it doesn't work because situations change. The cave's too small, or they're half underwater, half submerged, or the water's gone too murky, and then you got to that's why if you have the experience and the stuff behind you, it can get you out of a lot of stuff, because you can always turn around and say, well, actually we can actually do it this way. We can actually do it that way, rather than trying to go this avenue because it's not working, rather than throw your hands up in the air and say, let's reschedule a day because it's not going to happen.
With Aya, I noticed in the trailer there's a lot of movement. What was sort of the visual approaches you kind of designed with the director?
Well, first of all, the shooting schedule was so tight and everything. You haven't got time to set dollies here, do that, everything like that. So the only way I thought, well, you got to shoot this on a steady cam would be the quickest way and easiest way to get around a lot of stuff. And then, but we still want to give the handheld feel. So you kind of, I use a steady cam, like a bit of a handheld kind of motion, kept the shot moving and that kind of stuff, and because you want to keep that kind of on edge feel about the movie. Things too smooth and everything like that, then you kind of, the audience get a bit more relaxed and things kind of jump in, then they're kind of on the edge thinking that something's going to jump out at them at any stage. So you kind of work on that, and it's creating a mood in particular. Also the lighting mood you set as well, that creates the mood of the film, and how you approach that, and how much time you have to light that, and what works and what doesn't.
And the character in this is, I believe, is a cursed character, like almost like a soul.
Yes, kind of possessed.
So you kind of have to visualize that through.
Yes, and not having budget is, what can we do as special effect? What can we do? And as soon as somebody said, "Oh, don't worry, we'll fix it in post," you just shake your head, going, "That's not going to happen," because they haven't got the time, they haven't got the budget.
Yeah.
So what I have now, what I have on screen is going to. That's what's going to be seen. You don't think they're going to add a special effect or anything onto that, because it's not going to happen. So always treat it like that. Always try try and get as much as you can in film on the, because then it's there, you have it, you know. But it's getting time to get that happening. And I mean, designing shots also, sometimes you haven't got the luxury of going and doing a lot of rehearsals on these things. You just got to
shoot the rehearsals, as they say.
Shoot the rehearsal, and you know, because you know, particularly stunts, man, because first stunt goes off, the actor ends up bumping his head, and then you got a big welt in his head the whole time. So you got to show it, you know.
Create a little scene just for that.
Yes, exactly, and you know, as you do.
So did you come out either projects, either Blackwater or Aya, where you had an outcome that you were quite pleasantly surprised, maybe even? Yes,
you know, I was happy with the look of it all, how it all came out. I mean, editing is a whole nother sequence which to go down, and you know, would have loved to sit in more on the editing side of things, but you just haven't got the luxury. You just kind of, as a DP, what you do, hand over everything. Once it's done, it's in your hands. I trust you to handle this baby and treat it correctly, and off to the next project, almost.
Yeah.
That is. And you come back to grade and look and maybe throw a comment here and there, but that process is a lot out of your hands at that stage. And that's why you got to make sure that you have covered yourself, because they're in a dark room, they've been editing for hours. If the shot's not there, they're not going to hear how the director didn't want that shot. They're only you're only going to hear the bad end of it. And you're not there to defend yourself. So make sure you cover your ass.
Yeah, lots of shots.
As much as you can. Even the cutaways, trust me, those cutaways can save you so much.
Oh yeah, and fighting for coverage is sometimes hard on set, but like I've you know, obviously had that happen where we shot even a short film project, and I knew, and I obviously on set you tell the AD or direct and say, oh, we need to get this and this shot because you just won't have enough for the edit. And then you get to the edit, and then like you said, we don't have that, and you know you had that shot and you wanted to shoot it, but they wouldn't give you the time. And it's
it was, you know, good example of that was I was just over in Korea shooting a film, and it'd gone up. We're supposed to finish like at 1 o'clock, and like 4 o'clock in the morning we're still, and everyone's freaking out trying to get it. And we needed the reverse shot, and everyone's tired. That the director's saying, no, we don't need it. We got it. And at that stage, you're thinking, you know, look at this. I'm really tired as well. I just want to go to bed, just get some rest. And it's the last thing you do. And I had to. Then I had to sit down and insist, no, we need the reverse. We really need the reverse. You know, it's a pain in the ass, but we need it. Otherwise, this sequence will not work. And it's like, and I had to push it. But at the end of the day, it we needed it. So it's you know, but you know, then these things start going through your mind. Okay, it's a film. I'm killing myself in this. Who's going to see it? This and that. Is it worthwhile? All this energy. I mean, God, because I really don't feel like doing this shit. I really don't give a shit. I am so tired. You know, I don't even know if it's in focus anymore. But I know we need this shot. So it's like. But then once you've done something like that the next day, or look back afterwards and thinking, oh shit, no, this was the right call.
Yeah.
Although at the time, you know, that's the last thing you want to do.
Yeah, you know your instinct says you should do it, but you fight it with, you know, the resistance is always there.
But it's at the end of the day, it's be proud of what you do. It's your work. Your name's attached to it. So just remember that. Who sees it? You never know. You never know where it's going to end up.
Yeah, well, you know, the thing is with low budgets, it's always hard. I'm assuming this Korean film was similar shoes. It wasn't a big budget thing.
Of course, no budget, yeah.
And
no one speaks English.
Well, yeah, that's
so sign language is a lot of things, and you know.
So how did you actually end up getting on a project like that? If it's non-English speaking?
Years ago, I did a shoot with this Korean director, and he loved the way I shot and worked and everything like that. So when he got this script, he insisted on me, and you know, in the broken English that we kind of worked it all out. So it's, you know, I read the English version and I knew the sequences I wanted to get together. So it's you're telling a story, kind of dialogue you may not understand, but at the end of the day, the actions speak louder than words.
Yeah, well, you should be able to watch a movie in mute and get it, you know.
Yes, exactly.
We're watching a movie. Yeah, I really appreciate actually non-English films. If if you're watching a non-English film with subtitles and you still get so drawn into with the characters, that's when I'm like, that is filmmaking, because it's a bit of a distraction almost having subtitles, and you're still getting the character and the story.
Yes, yeah.
That to me is always an amazing achievement. So like French cinema, there are a lot of films where I get that because they understand.
But also, it's the thing is with the low budget, you can be a bit more daring, do things and try things and see it works, and try to put your signature on it if you can. I mean, sometimes you're really chasing your own tail half the time, but at the end of it, you see the results and you're happy with it, and you think, well, jeepers, that came out better than I thought expected.
That's always
nice. That's job satisfaction for you.
Yeah, and you do get little magic moments that you sometimes when you're capturing, and even though you've kind of sequenced it in your head, it doesn't feel very smooth, and then you see the cut and you're like, wow, that actually cuts.
So it's good to get a good editor.
Yeah, that's it. Someone who knows. And on your experience, especially on a big budget, is the editor on set or
no,
not at all?
Not all the time. Normally the director has, well, on a big budget, the director has notes and everything taken by the continuity.
That's right.
A lot of these smaller ones, continuity, what's that? They may just show the watch is on the right arm. Not writing down the take and which one's the good take, which is the bad take. Sometimes they just sit back and, pre-production is so important. Being prepared to what's about to go forward, because shit goes wrong and just got to find the best way of handling it. And what you can do on the day can save you so much time later.
Yeah.
Which people, at the moment, at that time, that's the be all and end all. This is what's important. Need to get that done, and we'll sort it out later.
It's no.
As satisfying as that may seem at the time, it's not really what ends up.
Well, it's this attitude of shortcuts that's creeping into a lot of quality work, like not just in film industry, but other things where people are trying to find shortcuts. And simple thing like having a checklist of, bad shot, good take, bad take. It's so important to fight for that, because it makes your life so much easier in editing.
There's a formula that's been around for a long time, and it's still the same formula. I remember working with a new director coming up, and he's, it was just, if you come up with all these things, no, this is a new way of shooting films, and I mean, like, okay, the old way is still good. Trust me, the old way is still good. You can't just make up shit on the day and expect it to work. Sometimes you're lucky, yes, but trust me, you're going to hit a brick wall at some stage.
Yeah. Well, nothing worse than you're sitting in the editing room and it just doesn't work, doesn't cut together, or even if you have
the editor's saying, "Where's that shot?"
Yeah.
And the director's saying, "Oh no, but we'll do it this way," and I'm just
it's a one-er.
Sitting at the back of him going, "Yeah, I told you so." Whatever.
And in talking about having these processes in place with communication, is there something that for you it's really important to ensure that when you have your team, that you want to ensure that that's always in place?
Yeah, well, always get the people around you that make you look good. Really
true.
I know so many people who aren't really very good at what they do, but they have the best people around them, which makes them look good and makes them get the job all the time. So there you go. So, and knowing how to have those people around you, and good team makes all the difference. And also attitude as well. At times where you're working, you've been, like a 16-hour straight shoot, but everyone still gets together and get it done. And no one, as soon as somebody starts stirring or jumping up and unhappy and this and that moaning kind of thing, then it's very contagious. And at the end of the day, you're there to get the thing done. It's, guys, can we just get through this, and then we can talk about it afterwards, but let's not bring it here now. Let's get it done, and then make sure it doesn't happen again. But let's not make a big scene now, because we really haven't got the time for it. And we just, can we please get this done? I want to get out of here as much as you do, but and it's a shit situation, fine, but we're here. We got to deal with it now. There's no way around it. It's moaning about it isn't going to solve the problem. Yeah, just getting it done, and I think a lot of people miss that. Actually, miss that. They just want to moan about things all the time, and trying to figure out how to get out of it. You're there, get it done, own it, and just get through with it. Just don't do it again if you don't want to.
Well, yeah, and I think the issue comes down to do they even have a passion for this? Like, is this just a job for them? Because if that's what it is, then you shouldn't be in the film industry, because it's so specialized that even the smallest roles require that 100% attention. Otherwise, it just, yeah.
Well, you got to sit back and ask, did I have a good day? Did I enjoy what I did? Do I feel job satisfaction, or, am I happy what I'm doing? Yes and no. Finally, you'll answer the question very quickly yourself.
Yeah.
Film is one of those things, what you put in is what you get out.
Yeah.
So if you're just there to take and just hope that they expect to make money and that kind of stuff, then that's not really the right industry to be in. And we're not saving lives, we're telling a story, have fun with it.
Yeah, that's right. And with putting in all that effort, at the end of the day, you're creating something. So why be half-assed about it? You know what I mean? Like, just love it.
Bite the bullet, whatever, and laugh about the situation afterwards. You won't do that again, that's for sure.
But that's it.
It's like life throws you these lessons, and you have good jobs and bad jobs. You can't all be good. I mean, you try.
Yeah.
But
I mean, every job, just because you might, whatever your passion is, you're still going to have probably more not so great days versus the amazing days, and you've just got to celebrate the good days.
Exactly. And just prepare for your next job.
Yeah, and you try to take something away, and you go, okay, I've learned that now. I can do this better now that I've realised. So be a little bit, objective in the way you look at how you've looked at your own work, I think or how you behaved even. Sometimes you've got to
It is, and also the more you work, the more people you get to work with. And then some people you work really well with, other people you don't work as well with. So, and as a person working in the industry, don't take it personally. If somebody worked on a job and they don't choose it on the next job, it's because maybe something you do different. Maybe they like something framed a bit differently than you do. Maybe they want to try somebody else that may, but, and then they say, no, but they always use me. I always do all their films, but maybe they want to try something different. But don't take it personally. Just whatever. Just if you do, then you'll be a ball in the corner. You'll never want to work, but you'll be depressed all the time thinking that you're bad at what you do. And it's not that. It's just some people prefer that kind of look. Well, that's their genre, so maybe they're doing that film. Or this is your genre that they kind of like working with, that kind of thing. So,
it's if you know you've done your best, you can't really blame yourself at all.
Exactly, that's it, and it is what it is.
So
you get out what you put in.
Exactly, and so I suppose because you've come from the very old technology of tube cameras. What are some of the things that you're finding in today that maybe a pro or a con with today's technology, having all this access to shooting fairly high quality footage with virtually as
well? I think filmmakers are at a stage where there's so much more happening now. There's technology so much there. The cameras that you can get at your fingertips are there. Some people are screaming out for more content. All the Netflix and stands and Google and everything. You have a chance of creating something and very good chance of somebody picking something up, particularly if you're good at what you do. And this is exciting time for most filmmakers, I think, whether it's a film or TV series, whatever, if you're clever at what you do and get the right people involved. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all who you know, but if you know the genre you're going for and you get the right people involved, it's great, but don't expect things to happen overnight. Instant gratification is a world that we kind of live in at the moment, and people get disappointed when that doesn't happen. And trust me, it's not just going to happen. Like all the actors, if you look, the ones who make it, it's a very small percentage. A lot of them wait to tables and that kind of stuff and waiting for the opportunity. So, but you have a chance to get out there and get your work out, and so many more film festivals, and it's exciting times. I mean, I wish that was around when I was starting out. I would have approached things very differently. And learn from people. Don't always come thinking you have the knowledge with everything. and don't think that you have the answers for everything. You're always learning. I'm always learning. As much as I know and much as I've seen, I still learn more every time I go onto a set and do stuff. If you don't, then you'll never learn anything. You're in the wrong industry.
Yeah. And well, with the question about technology, I guess that what it comes down to is that it's not really about the technology, it's just a tool. And today and 30 years ago, it was still the same thing. It's about having the right people and working the right way.
And everything, I can take one camera, 2 different cameras on different ends of the scale. You can sit in edit suite and not notice the difference. If I know my lighting, if I know the camera, if I know the parameters in which it works, I know that camera works real and low lighting. That one works in high density, that kind of stuff. So, know the cameras, know the pros and cons. I mean, you don't have to be a tech head to do it. Just go and listen to people when they say, what camera did you use here? Find out for yourself. The more you learn, the more you on hands, the more you get to know what works and what doesn't, and what works for you, and what the feeling you want to create. Yeah. And of course, everything boils down to budget, which you can. Okay, now what I want this camera. Okay, now here's an iPhone. Go out to make a movie. That's the budget.
Yeah, and we'd all like to be at the top end, Oscar-winning, whatever, cinematographer or whatever job you want to do, and they get to work with exactly what they always wanted to work with. That's great, but I think today, because of the variation of technology that just keeps changing, you kind of have to a little bit be adaptable in a way as well.
Well, it is. It's always adapting and new technology, but at the end of the day, it's the same. It's a people industry. It's all what you know. It's work with people, creating a story, making it work, make it enjoyable for others, and if you have fun on the movie, it'll reflect on the movie itself.
So true. With your experience shooting for so many years now, is there something that a tool or something that you always have with you or a piece of gear that just like a charm, something that you just, this is something I always have with me? I don't know. It's just a bit of a fun question.
Actually, whatever film you go on, take your sense of humor with you.
Yeah.
And don't let them knock that out of you. And also just it's a people industry and I think by helping and giving, you receive much more than just taking in whatever you do and in your outlook on life. So it's and people are very grateful and listening, and then that in itself is a great virtue, a great kind of feeling. Nowadays people get very protective about their corner of the film world they have, and people get very protective, and it's sometimes very hard to break into it because it's they're afraid you're going to take a part of what they I think competition's good. I think new filmmakers up and coming and everything have different ideas, and some of them work, some of them don't, but being in the industry and being in there so long, is to look and see what works, and maybe you can integrate some of that and that. When you explain a lot of kids come out of film school and everything, they're directing and they go into it, but they haven't had and visually fine, they've got a way that they want to tell the story, but their people skills is basic, and they're pissing everyone off and this and that, and they're getting frustrated, and everyone else getting frustrated, and it's that's a recipe for disaster, no matter how fantastic you are as a director, or how good your vision is.
Well, like you said, it's a people game, and that's nice that you've learnt a craft. Everyone can learn a craft, you know what I mean? But it's not, you realize when you're on a film shoot, you don't do it all yourself. There's lots of other people doing things, and you have to make sure everyone runs pretty smoothly. And if you can be that guy that inspires them, then that's even better. So,
well, yes, you can be that person that kind of pushes everyone in the right direction, get in there and have fun doing it. When people freak out and that kind of stuff, and it's just, sometimes you got to sit them down and literally get them to see the reality is insane. We're not saving lives here. It's just a movie, really. Break it down. It's not the end of the world. Don't have a nervous breakdown. You will recover from this. This isn't the center of the universe. A month from now, it won't seem as bad as what it is.
Yeah, for sure. And for your future, is there any filmmaker you want to work with, or a project that you'd like to one day tackle?
Yeah, I just you never really know what's out there. From one day to the next, you just get thrown these things, and karma's a funny thing. It's when you're least expecting things that things happen. And just be ready to take it on. And you know what? Whatever comes along, just put your hand up and say yes. You will, but out of your league and everything like that, if you have the sense and get the right people around you to help it, you'll make it work if you're clever enough. And that's one way of getting to know who you are and what you're capable of, and getting the right people around you. If it's bigger than Ben-Hur and it's way beyond what you expected, get the people who know what they're doing, and then they'll help you along in that journey. And be upfront and honest with people. I mean, ego and arrogance is always, it's a big part of the film industry we work in, but people like to kind of hear the human side of things. And if you're having a hard time, just sit down and discuss that with them, and then most people will help you get through it and be more on your side than ever before, than trying to act as if you know all the answers and not knowing anything.
Yeah. And I think it's also to do with, I think you mentioned earlier on that people fear that they lose their position, and that's where all that comes from. And if you just throw that away and go, it's not about that, then I think you can way through the whatever you're doing.
You'll always have good and bad. That's just the industry we work in. Good jobs you work in, bad jobs you work in. People who are purely in it for their own gain and this and that, and will step on others to get on the way up. But at the end of the day, they don't really last that long, because it's a small industry. Everyone knows everything. People know all the mistakes you made, not the successes that you had.
Yeah, that's sadly the human nature of things, but
yes,
that's why you have to minimize it as much as you can.
Just minimize. And the thing is, and just get on with things. I mean, there are always people out there wanting to make movies and wanting to get their story told and put it out there, and it's just how you approach it, really. Yeah. And how will they get on with you? You can have the best person in the world at what they do. They're fantastic, but they're a complete arsehole. And you coming along and you're not as good, but you're a really pleasant person to work with. They will get you for that job, because I have to work with you for 3 months. So I will put up with, I've got a good chance of getting on with you for 3 months and pin up with this idiot that I have to really, you'll get great shots, but man, I'm not enjoying the process that I'm going through.
Yeah. And and that's the other reason why you might never work with that person again, because it's simply just that you might be too real for that person.
Actually, at the end of the day, I always say, you never say no to a job. You just increase your price.
Yeah, true. Yeah, well, that worked for me.
That's it. Okay, then fine. No, it's gonna be hell to work with them, but I'm getting paid pretty well, so bugger it. Okay, I just bite the bit and get on with it.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's true.
And then if bitching and moan, you can't really, because you know what? It's pretty good. At the end of it, I'll have a really good holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got to
and de-stress.
Yeah, put some goals in place if it comes down to working with a tough project, and that's true. Even through working my biggest projects, or larger paid projects, I just cranked my price up because I didn't really want to work, and they said, "Oh no, we'll do it." Okay.
Okay, there you go. That's
and then you just do it. So sometimes, it's that's a good test as well, because then it just comes down to business.
Yeah.
So you could look at it that way too. And so, what's the next project for you coming up? Anything?
Yeah. Well, I'm off to London in about a month's time, so I've just got to go off and some work with Dion on Disney with the Little Mermaids. That's going to be quite fun. So.
Wow.
Yeah, working with the bigger Arris, like the 65 millimeter sensors and different cameras, bigger cameras, different lenses, all that kind of stuff. So it's a huge. All the rigs are different. So. Thank God it's not a full-on action, but so don't have these big multi-cranes with these heavy cameras swinging around. But yeah, and then we got a month in Sardinia, which would be quite fun.
Wow,
so it's great. It's exciting. So
that sounds. Hopefully the weather holds up for you guys.
It'll be fun. Well, a lot of studio stuff, a lot of green screen and that kind of stuff. So
Is
A
it
lot of waiting around for lighting, this and that, and
yeah?
going back and getting coffees. And
Is it? Do you know if it's more set based or is it going to be a bit
a lot
more
of it
blue
would be
screen?
set based,
Okay.
because it's an effect, a lot of effects and that kind of stuff.
Mm.
And that's more precise stuff. You got to kind of really be on it, and musicals and everything. And Rob Marshall, the director that we're working with, is such a nice guy, but knows exactly what he wants. Exactly what you want.
That's good.
And if you're not quite getting it, he'll say, Damien, can you just come up to the monitor here? And then like as the operator again, oh yeah, you're in trouble now.
Oh.
And then as they're laughing, they say, Peter, will you come up to the monitor as well, please?
Whoops.
Whoops. So then you kind of, in the principal's office, there you go.
Yeah, it's good though.
No, it's
good
fun.
to have that.
It is. And then you laugh at these things, and everyone's there to kind of make it all work. And dear my brothers, we're brothers sibly, so we just kind of get on with things, and I give him a hard time, and as usual as brothers do, but he's my younger brother.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
So
there you go. But it's good. There's 5 boys in the family, so it's we all get on well, and it's and it's fun because we just catch up and just left off where you left off, and
yeah,
get on with it, and it's it's funny because the London film industry is very all siblings and who you know and what you know. It's all families, and they've been in it for generations, and so getting into that, when you're coming from Australia, working over there, it's you who are you, where you're coming from, this and that. So it's a whole. I think I'm more known over in London film industry than I am in Australia.
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Like, it's interesting. People here that do a lot of work in Australia.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I found through, I was just looking through to see who's in Brisbane / Gold Coast. But I looked at your work and you're like, oh, you've worked on all these big films and not in Australia. So that's quite fortunate in that way.
But at the same time, at this stage of my life, I enjoy life, enjoy my time off. When I work, it's hard, but when I have time off, I enjoy that type of thing. And I'm lucky. I'm in a position now where I don't have to push myself as much. It's a good place to be. I mean, it took a long time to get there.
Yeah.
But and also it's I can help young up and coming, students and this and that. Fine, that is, and also I think for the younger generation also learning to go through the hard times and thinking that you have an education, just go out there and expect to work and get to work immediately is very difficult. You'll be disappointed. It's almost, if you learn starting like as a run or whatever it is, or whatever stage you get into it, you get to know the people in the industry rather than coming in cold and trying to assert yourself.
Yeah.
Once you get in there, and any projects, you don't even have to get paid for it initially. Just chalk it up as education. So instead of you paying them, it's free from both sides, and you get as much out as you put in. So, and people see that, and they see you're eager, you see you're keen, and they will get you on the next project because of that. Because they see that you are good at problem solving, you're good at this, and you're got your hand up, and you don't have to be asked. You're there, eager to learn. People like that, eager to learn.
One thing I really picked up that I appreciate on film sets is attentiveness, because that's what I found that some of these kids that did come out of film school, they didn't have that. And
No,
it's not, experience is important, obviously, but I think if you can learn that before you walk onto working with other creatives and film shoots, that if you're attentive, people will appreciate it.
and people pick it up. Believe me. The motto on a film set is hurry up and wait. So I know it's what you do in that waiting time that counts.
Yeah.
If you're on your phone not paying attention to what's going on, if like people walk past and look and going, okay,
He's not
in a different
interested.
world. You're not actually in this kind of, then, if it's a bigger film, would you, so, that people see that you're interested and be keen, and then you get more out of it. Your day goes quicker.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's true as well, because otherwise you'll be
Rather
very
than
bored.
hanging around and having so many coffees, only so many coffees and teas you can have in a day.
That's not good either. You might go a bit crazy when you actually have to do the action.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's really wonderful to talk to you about your experience in the industry, and thanks for coming on board and having a chat to us.
No, pleasure. Thank you.
Well, that was a great chat with Damien Beebe, and look forward to more of his work down the line. Next episode coming up, I have Stefan Duccio, who's a cinematographer. His work I quite admire, and he's got a quite wonderful range of feature films that he's shot. Most recently, The Invisible Man, which looked fantastic, and also he did previous work with the same director, Upgrade. And we'll get quite into detail about Invisible Man and the lighting and the way it was shot. So look out for it. It's a really great podcast. Talk to you next week.